Folks, we're visiting today with Logan Thornsley. He owns Thornsley Tree and Landscape in Morgantown. Logan, thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you, Jim, for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on and learn about your business, your profession, and learn about you.
Positively West Virginia. Positively West Virginia.
Positively West Virginia is powered by Breezeline high-speed fiber internet and sponsored by Highmark West Virginia, Freedom Kia of Morgantown, and Humble Influence. With the help of these sponsors, we're able to share the positive business stories of West Virginians, including the one from today's episode.
Logan, tell us about your business, Thornsley Tree and Landscape.
So Thornsley Tree and Landscape was sort of something I kept rolling from high school. When I was in high school, I would do work around the community for, the neighborhood, family, friends, stuff like that. So back then, I think it was called Thornsley Tree Service. So when I came to college, I had to fund my way through college.
Yeah.
Thornsley Tree and Landscape sort of started in the basement of a fraternity. So it was one of those things. I bought a riding mower off Facebook. My plan was to sell the mower. I picked up a couple of customers with it, and I was like, make a couple $100s off this mower, I can continually make money every week with it.
It was an investment.
It was. So that's where I learned about my first investment. More or less just kept mowing grass. The word spread. Friends would refer me to other people. And then before I knew it, it sort of spiraled, to where we are today. So, yeah.
That's awesome. So you're originally from Ohio. What brought you to West Virginia?
So when I started school, I went to Hawken College. It's down there in Ohio. It's a 2-year school. Went for a forestry degree. Once I graduated, I knew I wanted to sort of pursue forestry a little more. So I decided to transfer to West Virginia University, got my forestry degree. And then, like I said, as I, started getting through school and started working, started the business and stuff, it sort of took off a little better than I had imagined.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where I was like, well, I don't necessarily want to leave it now. I want to keep seeing how far I can take this.
See what you can build.
Yep, certainly. And it's just, it's led me here. So
that's awesome. So what inspired you to get into the forestry, business, if you will, that industry?
Yeah. So when I was in high school, I went to a career center for natural resources. I always liked the outdoors. I was always, wanting to spend as much time as I could, either hunting or fishing or just enjoying nature. So that's where it sort of led me to, of course, forestry. So, once I got my forestry degree, I sort of started looking for jobs and stuff, realized it was all a little, too hard to find. In that career center, we also learned how to trim trees. So along with the forestry side come the logging side of things. More or less what that taught me was the skills to take down trees. Sort of fell in love with the tree removal side of things.
Yeah.
And then,
That's an incredible journey for sure. So, Logan, what about the specific things that you're known for now? Is it more the tree service and tree removal, tree pruning? Is it landscape? Talk a little bit about that.
Certainly. So we started Tree and Landscape. That was the bread and butter of it. That's, what I truly enjoyed doing. But now, as stuff progressed, it seemed like there was a market of trying to find people to come out to your property. Mm-hmm. So although that's sort of what we started on, now we've shifted into complete outdoor property contracting. Mm. So we do anything from, concrete retaining walls, light excavation work.
Hardscape.
Yeah, hardscapes, down to, of course, weekly lawn care maintenance. So we sort of niched ourselves into, being that one-stop shop for the outdoor property space. And that's just sort of where we found good luck and more or less just being able to help the community in a better way rather than them searching around for this or that. It's just all in one house. So it makes it.
When did you start the company then? You said
so
it started
company,
in college. But,
so unofficially, I believe like 2020, of course. And that was just, your few lawn care customers here and there, just the start of the snowball. We officially started in 2021, and we were located in Granville. So we were in Granville for a couple years. We actually just got a new location now. So we're working right down the road from there in Osage at our new sort of, home location.
Yeah, you have like a shop, basically.
Yeah, so we just got done with our office space. We just built an office. The shop is actually undergoing construction now, so we are to start on that
That's cool.
Next week.
Okay.
And then, of course, our material bins, we plan on adding like a greenhouse down the road.
Oh, no kidding.
And a couple
That's
other
big.
things. So, yeah,
Yeah,
certainly.
that's great.
It's exciting.
So Logan, is starting a business with a lawnmower basically, and then building into a company. How many employees do you have now?
So we scale back in the wintertime,
Yeah,
of course,
sure.
with everything being seasonal. Right now, we have 4 people employed
Okay.
full-time. Of course, we use a handful of subcontractors and part-time labor and stuff like
That's
that.
great.
In
Good
the
for you.
summertime, typically we're running 3 crews. We have anywhere from 8 to 12 guys, depending,
Yeah.
and then, of course, the office staff.
That's big.
Yeah.
Well, you're growing a company very rapidly, and it's awesome to see that. And I appreciate you giving us some background there. Talk a little bit about the industry, because it seems like, outdoor spaces have always been important. But then you mentioned the COVID pandemic in 2020. And, that really, it seemed like it really amped up the need for people to have these beautiful spaces outside. And that's where you come in.
Yeah, certainly. So it seemed like right around that COVID period, people just wanted that need for the outdoor space. Sometimes, when you're cramped up, of course, you got to have somewhere to go. And that's sort of where we, decided to find ourselves, is just sort of giving somebody a place to go outside, that sort of oasis, that sort of peaceful place that you can escape to and enjoy. So.
Yeah. So what's your go-to? What are you known for most?
So I would say, as of now, we are probably known most for our landscape work.
Yeah.
So, of course, we offer pretty much anything, but our landscape's real popular just because, a lot of people don't have the time to keep up on that stuff outside.
Yeah.
So whether it's just your regular maintenance or, 10 years of neglect where you need a complete clean slate, we like to come in and, that's sort of where we pick up the most customers, is just sort of trying to give them something that they're proud to come home to and look at.
Yeah.
So.
Or when a landscape goes in, say you're building a home and it's 20 years ago, and the landscape that you put in 20 years ago, does it reach like a point where you got to like just start from scratch again, or is that how it is? Or
Certainly. So everything has its maturity.
Yeah, sure.
Some landscape designs and installs can last a little longer than others, but once it gets to that point, it's typically better just to start with a clean slate. Now, of course, that point sort of depends on how involved the homeowner is, how much maintenance they want to put in, how often they upkeep on it. But yeah, everything does have a lifespan to it. So
yeah, because you're dealing with mostly live plants, right?
Certainly.
I do have a neighbor that puts out beautiful plastic plants.
Yeah.
They look amazing, but you think they were real, but there's no maintenance there. But you're doing landscape and hardscape. Is there any trends right now in the industry that you're seeing that are very popular here in North Central West Virginia?
Yeah, so the biggest trend this year, of course, from all the rain is drainage.
Yes.
We have been doing
So
drainage
important.
left and right. Everybody's sort of realizing that, these newly developed homes that they're moving into and stuff weren't really left in the best, possible shape for them outside, even with their drainage. So we've seen a lot of flooding, stuff like that. It seems like, a bulk of our work this year has been drainage work, just trying to keep people's foundations dry, keep everything away from the house, and keep their yard to where they can walk in and use it rather than,
Be a swamp.
marshy swamp. Yeah.
That's important. This is Positively West Virginia. We'll be right back.
Your prescriptions are designed to keep you healthy, active, full of life. At Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, we're making vital medicine more affordable. Because when your prescriptions don't cost an arm and a leg, you can use those limbs for something more meaningful. Because life. Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, West Virginia.
Looking for your dream home in West Virginia? Middletown Homes offers high-quality, modular, and manufactured homes designed for your lifestyle. Affordable, beautiful, and built to last. Visit MiddletownHomesWV.com today. Folks, we're visiting with Logan Thornsley. He's with Thornsley Tree and Landscaping. We're having a great discussion about outdoor spaces, hardscapes, landscapes, and everything in between. Logan, what would you say is your 30-second pitch whenever you meet somebody, say at a networking event or out in the public? What do you tell them you do in 30 seconds?
Yeah, so ideally in 30 seconds, there's a lot to put into it. More or less, at Thornsley Tree and Landscape, we're, more or less looking to provide you the one phone call, the one-stop shop for the outdoor space. Like I said earlier, whether we're doing retaining walls, drainage, tree removal, tree trimming, we are that one, call that you can rely on. And then, of course, if we can't get you, handled or anything, work with a wide variety of contractors. So, whether it's something we can handle ourselves, or if we can't, we can at least get you pointed in the right direction. That way you do, get your problem taken care of. So
Love it.
Yep.
Great job, Logan. What would you say is the thing you're most excited about for your company right now?
So our growth, like I was talking about earlier, our new location in Osage is really going to, bring jobs to the area, as well as, just create an impact, hopefully, is the idea of it. So we have the greenhouse going in. We want to start carrying materials for contractors on that side of the town and everything. And more or less just the impact on the community. It's been great to sort of watch and see how it's
Whereabouts
changing
in
things.
Osage are you located?
So we're actually right off of Number 3 Hill. Osage is a really small town, if you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
It's right across the bridge, pretty much right off Main Street. It's tucked away, far enough to where, we're not right in the downtown of it, but we're close enough,
Did you buy property down there? Or?
We did.
Yeah, that's
so
awesome,
ended up and bought, I believe it was right around like 7 or 8 acres, somewhere down
amazing.
there. So yeah,
Good for you.
Bought it.
Well, I've often thought that of all the little, kind of neglected towns in West Virginia, Osage is ripe for a revival.
Yeah.
Because they're adjacent to Star City there, right off the interstate, and it's got some really cool infrastructure and lots of history, especially in the coal mining industry. So
certainly.
Hats off to you for bringing some new development to that little town. That's going to be awesome. I think it's wonderful. So let's talk about your geographic reach. Where do most of your customers live or come from?
So a lot of our customers are located right here around the Morgantown area. We do go down into Fairmont, Clarksburg, that kind of area for, a little bit larger jobs. Of course, for like snow removal and like weekly maintenance, we haven't quite made it that far yet. Demographically, a lot of the people we help, it seems like, are the new build homeowners. So the younger couple that buys a brand new, construction home that just has no clue what to do with the outdoor space.
It has maybe some seed spread on the lawn. That's it.
Blank slate. And even then,
Blank slate.
sometimes the seed's a lot to ask for in those
Right.
situations. So,
Sure.
yeah, that's our ideal customer is, the people just looking for the help in the outdoor area that necessarily either don't have the time for it, or, they're busy working, of course, or they just don't have the know-how. So,
well, my wife and I spend a lot of time in our yard, in our landscape. I appreciate a good landscape. What do you think is the, other than the aesthetics of a beautiful space, what's in it for the customer when they invest and do, a good landscape
certainly
plan?
Functionality.
Yes.
You want to have something that you're going to enjoy.
Yeah.
Of course, there's no need to dump money into the landscape and the outdoor space if you're never outside. But, a lot of this is where they don't have any place to go, where they want something that they can come home, enjoy, go outside, unwind, cook, their kids can play. You're more or less looking to create a space that you're proud to enjoy and that you can spend some time in. It's almost like an extra room in your house, like a man cave or something like that for the outdoor space.
I kind of view it the same way, and I don't know if it's 100% accurate, but I feel like curb appeal is extremely important, for your property, to have a nice looking place that you feel proud of. Number two, adding square footage, even though it's not inside the walls of your home, it's adding square footage, and I think that improves the property value as well.
Certainly.
So let's talk a little bit about your tree side of the business. What are some of the issues that you deal with mostly? I'm thinking when I hear tree service and tree removal, maybe it's a dead tree or something that's damaged and could potentially have a fall risk on the home or somebody's life or something of that nature, but also storm damage. Where do you see most of the business coming from on the tree side?
Yeah, so a lot of it seems like these trees are just big objects that people are unaware of until they become a problem.
Yeah.
So the tree side of things, of course, like I said, being a forestry major, I'm more or less on the health side of things. So I like to, educate people on what they have, ways to keep it healthy, ways to prolong that tree rather than, the removal side. So we do a lot of removals. Of course, that's a part of it. We remove healthy trees, unhealthy trees, blown over trees. But, I like to go a step further, more or less into that like education, how to manage them, how to sort of keep them healthy, how to increase the longevity of something while keeping it safe to the to the homeowner, and then anything else in the area. So, yeah.
What is the I'm going to say, I hope I get it right, the Bradford pear?
Yeah.
I wanted to see what kind of response that elicited.
Yeah, so that seemed to be one of those sound better on paper sort of situations.
Yeah. Talk about that for people who don't know what the Bradford pear tree is.
So for the most part, Bradford pear was a widely spread, sort of oriental or an ornamental tree, more or less. And they used to put it in because it grew so fast. It looked pretty, had, its
nice
white
shape
bloom
to it,
stuff. Yeah, of course. So a lot of these new developments, stuff like that, I mean, they just littered the area. We'll come to find out a few years later, along the lines of forestry and everything else, hey, this is invasive. This is really starting to take over.
Yeah.
This is, starting to outcompete our native species, stuff like that. And it became, just a complete 180 on them. So now they're encouraging removals. It's one of those things that, it's good to get out of there, more or less for everything else in the ecosystem.
We had a giant Bradford pear in our front yard right during the pandemic, like beginning of 2020. We had a bad storm come through and blew it over.
Certainly.
The whole thing just fell over.
Yep.
Narrowly missed our house. Like the tops of the tree, basically just grazed our gutter. No damage, but my goodness, I started learning more about them. At that point, I had no idea. And then you look around in the spring, they're like one of the beautiful trees that comes out in the white flower, like you mentioned, and they are pretty. But man, they're wreaking havoc. What are some of the more popular trees that do well here in West Virginia, especially North Central?
So a lot of it's going to depend on, of course, the soil type, what you're looking for out of your tree. So, if you want something in the landscape along the house, you want to stick with something that's small, like dogwoods, stuff like that.
Yeah, sure.
If you're looking for almost like a legacy tree or something that, generational can enjoy, you're looking more towards your oaks, maples, hickories, that kind of stuff. But overall, it's a hardwood state. It's known for its hardwood forests, as you see all over the state. So anything within that hardwood region, is going to be
that's great.
Pretty well growing here.
What about the ash tree here in West Virginia? What happened to the ash?
Yeah, so that's sort of a sad situation. It's one of those things where invasive species, once again, like the Bradford pear, a little beetle come over, nobody knew anything of it, and before you knew it, it sort of took to the buffet of ash trees around. So
that was the emerald ash borer.
Emerald ash borer. And what it does is it gets in the cambium layer and it sort of eats, right underneath the bark where the tree, sort of transports its nutrients, its water, that kind of stuff up and down. It sort of destroys that, cutting off the veins, more or less.
Yeah.
So the tree just sort of starves out and then they die. And as of now, they're pretty well extinct.
Yeah. Is that across the the country basically?
Yeah, certainly. We see it out in Ohio a good bit, just because that's a big part of the makeup of the tree species out there. But yeah, it's pretty well countrywide as far as I'm aware.
Is there ever going to be an ash tree come back? I mean, the American ash or whatever it's called?
Yeah, so it's going to be hard to tell. I know that they're keeping seeds in seed banks, stuff like that. So they're trying to sort of preserve that. A lot of the forests you go to, if you walk through and look at the understory, it has seedlings and saplings coming up where it's just sort of regeneration on its own. Now, whether or not the ash borer will, take those once they get of age is hard to tell, but hopefully they run out of food before then, and the seedlings and stuff can take root. And
thanks for that little bit of education. I didn't even anticipate going down that path, but I think that was a good place to be. This is Positively West Virginia. We'll be right back. In a world obsessed with leadership, what if the real key to success is followership? We hear it all the time. Be a leader, take charge. But what if the most impactful people aren't the ones leading from the front? In Humble Influence, I explore how humility, collaboration, and shared purpose empower followers to create meaningful change in business, organizations, and relationships. Discover the strength of true followership with Humble Influence. Stay connected with an unbeatable deal from Breezeline. Voted best in Mountaineer Country for their reliable, high-speed fiber internet for a low cost, Breezeline is the best gig in town. You know, here at InnerAction Media, we rely on high-speed internet every single day to ensure we can deliver the best content possible for our clients and when we publish Positively West Virginia each week. That's why we use Breezeline. It's affordable, fast, and they're great people as well. Learn more about Breezeline's internet, TV, and mobile options at breezeline.com. Folks, we're visiting once again with Logan Thornsley. He's the owner and proprietor of Thornsley Tree and Landscape in Morgantown. Logan, this has been a great conversation, and I appreciate you educating us on some of the forestry items, especially that ash tree situation. That was very interesting. Right now, how do you get the word out to attract new customers?
So a lot of it is honestly word of mouth. So it's been a blessing and a curse of that. Like I said, I mean, it's more or less, you can't reach a whole lot of people. It does make it challenging to get out there with word of mouth. However, it's something we need to improve on. You know,
referrals are important, right?
Yeah.
Somebody, you do a great job for somebody, and the next thing they say, hey, do you know somebody who does this? And they say, oh, you got to call Logan. Here's his number. You know,
certainly.
And I think that's important. What about in terms of growing the business? I mean, you got this new location in Osage. You got a growing team. You're talking about this greenhouse. What's the biggest challenge you're facing?
So the biggest challenge is finding people. You know, believe it or not, that is a challenge within itself, as every small business owner can talk about. You know, finding like-minded people that want to join the team, be a part of that, and honestly just take part in your vision. Yeah, like I said, to find somebody willing to share that vision with you and that is looking for the growth as well has been a challenge for us.
Yeah.
So
what does that vision look like long term?
So long term, it more or less, it's to serve the community. So what we're looking for, like I said, is to help all these people that have nowhere to turn to, that, you know, can't get a hold of people. Our biggest complaint we hear is, you're the only one that showed up. You know, so it's like, for that to be a thing nowadays, I just don't understand. You know, I don't agree with it when people struggle to find somebody to help their situation. So,
yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. I say it often times here on the show and others. It's one of the easiest times to be in business because, on one hand, right? Because all you got to do is show up most of the time. And it is sad from a consumer standpoint because you and I are both consumers, and it does get maddening a little bit when you can't get somebody to show up.
Certainly.
But from a business standpoint, it's maybe a little lesson for somebody who may be thinking about a business out there that this is one of the better times to start a business because the competition doesn't show up.
Yeah.
I mean, there's two sides of the coin, right? So
Certainly.
I do feel like that, and you know, I think even if you're not starting a company, if you're out there in the workforce, it's easier than ever. I remember growing up in my career in the early 1980s, and it was tough. It was cutthroat. You really had to work to get ahead. And nowadays, it seems like you just show up on time and shake a person's hand, look them in the eye, and do good work. You're going to be very successful.
Yeah, certainly. It's definitely, it seems like it's easy to get the jobs. The main thing's keeping the jobs, keeping the name, keeping the reputation. I mean, like I said, there's limited competition out there,
Exactly.
But if you're not, you know, actually providing a solution to these customers, you're going to fizzle out pretty quick.
100% believe that. Yes, you're right on the money, Logan. I think, you know, just for a business owner in business for 5 years or so, that's a very important lesson to learn. Yeah. You know, you gotta show up, but you gotta do it on a regular basis. I say it all the time. It's easy to start a business, but it's very hard to grow a business long term.
Certainly.
And the people problem that you mentioned definitely is a thing. I'm curious, like with some of the, you know, in your business, do you use like migrant workers, like maybe people that are on a work visa or something like that?
We do not. So we have not sort of ventured into that world of visa
Yeah, I was
workers.
just curious because that's typically the way it is.
Yeah, we've looked sort of into it a little bit, but with the complexity of it, I mean, it's more or less something we'd like to keep within the community. You know, I mean, we want to keep the jobs.
Yep.
Yeah, of course. You know, if we can find them. College students, of course, that's been a big, you know, sort of employment of ours is college kids, you know, looking for summer jobs, looking more or less for the opportunity to learn new skills. You know, we've taken people who haven't ran a lawnmower, and then have taught them completely, the outdoor space maintenance. So they leave with that, and it's been nice to sort of see some of the people we've had employed.
I imagine one of the challenges in your business, Logan, is just dealing with the things out of your control, like the weather. I mean, this has been a pretty interesting year, because the first part of the summer it was very rainy, and then we got into the drought situation. So you guys were probably not able to cut, and then don't need to cut. How does that affect your business?
So a lot of planning, a lot of on the fly planning. So whether you're got your week planned out ahead of you, then the weather changes. I mean, it's more or less just having that backup option and being ready to alter your plan at any point in time. The flexibility in our space is just crucial. That way, you can keep your guys busy, you can keep the work flowing, and you can keep your schedule moving. So it's just, you're never stopped. You're just more
Well, it seems like
moving.
you're really smart in diversifying your offerings too. Yeah. Right. You're not just grass mowing. You're not just tree maintenance and tree removal, but now you've got this whole greenhouse concept you're bringing in, and you're going to be a grower, and you're going to be a provider of materials for contractors and maybe even consumers. I'm not sure about that, but that sounds amazing. Like you're really figuring this thing out. How did you come upon those ideas?
So a lot of it was more or less just material for ourselves. So when you have to wake up extra early to drive 30 minutes to get your material for the day, it was more or less one of those things where it's like, we need this. And then, it was under that sort of assumption where, well, if I need it, how many others, could take use of having something local or in this area?
Yeah, smart.
So that's sort of how that ventured out, was just based off of our own needs for it.
That's great. Anytime I have a successful business leader across the table from me, I'm going to ask a leadership question. Logan, what do you think is the most important attribute of a successful business leader today?
I would say, honestly, compassion. Just being able to understand the situation, understand the people you're leading, and more or less relate with them on a level, beyond a boss or beyond, something like that. You got to be pretty compassionate about people to keep them around. That's the main thing, is they want to be cared about and want to be treated properly. So
yeah, that's great. What's one piece of advice you would give somebody thinking about starting a business in any industry here in West Virginia that you think our listeners should know?
Yeah, be prepared for the time investment of it. Your business sort of becomes your personality in a way. It's just sort of, it's one of those things. It's hard to keep, everything sort of separate. Yeah. I would definitely encourage, like I said, to just be prepared to put in the time and effort. And of course some business owners, have a better work-life balance. For me, it was just never the case. That was one thing I had to learn the hard way. So also sort of try to incorporate that into everything, is just being balanced, more or less.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I think you're speaking wisdom into that, because even a 5-year business owner, you've learned that lesson, and it's more than a job. It's your, it has to be your livelihood, right? It's like you're all consuming. We're getting ready to start our 15th year here at InnerAction Media, and I can tell you that there's nights where they're sleepless, because I've got things on my mind that I was like, I got to get this done tomorrow. I can't wait to get in there and start it.
Certainly.
But by the same token, it's very rewarding as well. So I think that's pretty cool. So, with regard to your business, is there anything, Logan, that you think our listeners should know more about Thornsley Tree and Landscape, or about your story?
Yeah, so for the most part, like I said, we're just trying to provide that solution for you. We want to get you outdoors, we want to get you enjoying that space, and we want to get you comfortable with your backyard area, for sure. So
that's awesome. Yeah. As we close out our time, Logan, how can our listeners learn more about you, and perhaps even get in contact with you?
Yeah, certainly. So you can visit our website. Of course, we have a Thornsley Tree and Landscape website. We have Facebook, Instagram, or you can contact our office. or stop by in person.
Yeah,
in Osage there.
In Osage. I love it. Yeah, that's very cool. One of the things that I just thought about, we were talking about the outdoor spaces, retaining walls and these kinds of things, patios. are you like fire pits and fireplaces? It seems like that's a hot thing. Is that something you guys do as well?
Yeah, certainly. So we cover the hardscape space. Of course, some limitations
kitchens?
apply. We have not actually had the opportunity to do an outdoor
But you
kitchen
could.
yet, but it would be something we would definitely be willing to take on.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Our guest once again is Logan Thornsley with Thornsley Tree and Landscape. Logan, it's been an honor to have you on the podcast today, just to learn more about you. You're an up-and-coming business owner right here in Morgantown, Osage, to be specific, Osage neighborhood. And I just want to encourage you. I think what you're doing is amazing. I love young entrepreneurs take a risk, and it seems like it's been on your heart for a long time, and I just want to encourage you to keep up the great work.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Our guest once again, Logan Thornsley with Thornsley Tree and Landscape. Folks, that's a wrap on another episode of Positively West Virginia. If you or someone you know would be a great guest on our show, drop us a line on our website at positivelywv.com. And of course, we appreciate your comments, your reviews, 5 stars only, thanks, and encouragement along the way too. And make sure you're sharing these stories like that of Logan Thornsley and Thornsley Tree and Landscape here in Morgantown. That helps him and helps us as well. On behalf of our entire Positively West Virginia team, including our producer today, Mr. Justin Schofield, I'm your host, Jim Matuga. Stay positive, West Virginia.
We'd like to thank our partners, Highmark West Virginia, Freedom Kia of Morgantown, InnerAction Media, Humble Influence, and our studio sponsor, Breezeline, for helping to share these positive stories. If you'd like to become a sponsor of the Positively West Virginia podcast, visit positivelywv.com/sponsor.